Okay, so before I, research more into hip dysplasia, because I don't think I've ever actually done first off, hi, my name is Sydney Carter, and I will be jumping into information a lot like that before I start intros. So, um, anyways, hi, my name is Sydney Carter, and, this is my life, and we're keeping up with it. Or I guess you are. I'm living it. Um, okay, let's get into it. This is my story with living with hip dysplasia and what hip dysplasia is. So, I actually, for someone who is actually living with hip dysplasia, I don't actually know too much about it. I kind of only know the version of what I've picked up over the years and things that I've gotten done, and kind of just like minimal information. So actually this video is going to be very helpful for not only anyone who wants to learn, but also for myself, because then I'll learn more about the thing that I'm living with and have lived with for 24 years. I was born with hip dysplasia, and I'm pretty sure it's more common to be born with it. I don't think it's something that kind of comes along as you grow up. I think it is something that you're either born with or like extremely early in your life. Your hip joints and everything, they're not stabilized properly and they're not developed as much as obviously regular hips. And it was actually kind of funny because when I was born, they didn't catch it right away. And it's better if they catch it like right away than kind of what happened to me. They still caught it fairly early, but it just wasn't early enough. And I think I was like between 1 and 3 when they caught it. My legs were like flimsy little things when I guess was getting tested and stuff for it. My mom told me that my legs could basically go like past my head, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have like a gymnastics baby, like it's gonna be awesome, she's so flexible." Nope, your kid has hip dysplasia. Yeah, so she found out pretty quickly. I had to get surgery to basically put my hip back into the correct place, into the socket basically. They had to pin my hip so that it was in the proper place so that it could obviously heal properly as I grew up. And I'll show you guys my leg as well because I have some scars. But they pinned my leg in 2 different places. I was on, let's say I was on the 6th floor and the surgery wing or whatever was on the 4th floor or something like that. Completely different floor. That's all you need to know. So they would pin my leg in the 6th floor, and then by the time they got to the surgery floor or where they were going to do surgery, my hip had popped back out. So they would need to repin it. So they would have to, I think they would have to bring me up back to the 4th floor or whatever, 6th floor, whatever. You get the gist. Pin it. This happened like 6 or 7 times. And on the final time, they were like, okay, if this doesn't work, if it doesn't stay by the time we get to the surgery room and we can't do surgery on it, we're going to send you to, I think, Minnesota. I think that's where it is, but we're going to send you to the Mayo Clinic, and they are going to deal with it there. Now, luckily, unluckily, whatever you want to say, it's something that I think about a lot actually, is that what if that last time didn't work? What if I got sent to the Mayo Clinic? What would have happened then? On the last try, it finally worked, and they were like, okay, let's do surgery on it. So they only worked on my left hip. Now this is where my what ifs come in, because eventually they found that at the beginning when they were focusing, when I found out I had hip dysplasia, it was worse in my left hip than it was in my right. So naturally they only nipped the left side. Now, I would have liked to know. I guess we'll never know now. I guess we'll never know. But I would have liked to know that situation in an alternate universe or whatever. If I did go to the Mayo Clinic, would they have just worked on my left, or would they have done my left and right? Because eventually, as I'll tell you, I needed to work on my right. But until then, until we get to that part, I'll keep talking about my left hip. Okay, so after a successful surgery, I was put into a full body cast. Basically went right up to here on me, right up to my armpits, to both stabilize my legs, all of my, all of my legs, my hips, my back, everything, so that I couldn't move, so that I couldn't mess up the healing stage. So I got that hip surgery done, and they basically told my mom, from my understanding, is that I probably wouldn't be able to walk. Definitely not be a gymnast for sure, but probably wouldn't be able to walk. Probably wouldn't be able to do stuff normal people would. You know, run, exercise, sports, walking, basically. And then they sent me home, sent me off, and my mom was a fantastic mother. I I feel so bad because the times that we have talked about my hip and that stuff, she said that when she would go and get like the checkups done for me, or really go anywhere with me, because I was in that full body cast, people would be looking at her like, what the heck did you do to your kid? My mom was a champ. She was awesome. I friggin' love her to death. The more life goes on, the more I just have so much respect for her and the things she's done. And the more I research about things, it's just like my respect for her grows more. But a little sappy moment done. She bought me this kind of huge chair so that I would be able to sit with her at work. I would just like be chilling there in my cast, just chilling there with mom. And then apparently I was trying to walk and stuff. Like, the little kid had some life in her. She had some will, some motivation in her, and I was despite having the full cast on, I was trying to move. I was trying to crawl, I was trying to do baby things. And she bought this horse that I still have, and I'll probably keep forever, because I feel like this was the life-changing moment for me and my muscles and strength. But this was the first time I ever exercised my big toe. So she said that when she would put me on the horse, because I was in a full body cast, I obviously couldn't move my legs. I couldn't really move anything. So I would hold on to the horse, and I would use my big toes to just flick myself forward, and I would move forward, because this horse was mobile. It had 4 wheels, so I could get around. And apparently, that was my first whip, honestly. That was my first whip, was y'all talking about, your horsepower. I had a full horse. I had a horse for my first vehicle. That's kind of funny. I never thought about it like that until now, but yeah, I was whipping around on that thing. So I eventually obviously grew some muscle out of that, and it didn't stop me from doing anything. And eventually, obviously, as I grew older, the cast obviously came off, and everything seemed to be going okay. And then at the ripe age of about 7 years old, I learned about hockey. And we've always been a hockey-filled house for as long as I can remember. It was always hockey, hockey, hockey all the time. And I'm a huge fan. I've played. So I won't get too much into that. I'll put that into another video. But basically, convinced my mom for like a whole year. It was like a kid wanting a dog. I was like, Mom, I want to play hockey. Put me in hockey. Put me in hockey. And she was like, no, because of your hips, and no, because obviously I'm starting later than other kids. You know, I obviously wasn't 3 years old with skates on. I was 3 years old with a cast on, full body cast. And, you know, things were a little bit different for me, but I eventually talked her into it. I showed her, I proved myself. Kind of another pivotal moment where I went into hockey. I think it is a big part of my hip journey, so I do feel like I should put it into this video. Obviously, as I continued playing hockey, I re-aggravated that hip. Obviously, I wasn't taking the exercises or the kind of strength training, you know, agility, like all the things that come with hockey. I wasn't doing any of that. So, you know, naturally, you know, having so much strain on my hips and stuff, it wore them down really fast. As the years went by, my right hip started giving me a lot of trouble, and my left hip was giving me trouble as well, but it was nothing like my right hip. In 2014, finally, I got the clearance to get a surgery called paracetabular osteotomy. That's what I got. I got it done at the Misericordia in Edmonton. So, basically, from what I know, is my hip, a regular hip, is supposed to be like this, right? So it's supposed to be able to move all around your joint, and this is like your hip cup that cups your I think it's called the femur in place. Again, I'll get more into the scientific stuff in the next video in part 2, but basically, like, this is what I know is it goes like this, is like a regular hip, but mine, because of the hip dysplasia, mine curves out a little bit, so when it goes out, it's not smooth, and so my hip almost like pops out of the joint basically, and it causes, you know, scraping and pressure and all of that stuff. Basically, what they do is they cut into you, they take the ball joint out, and then they scrape it down, they smooth it out, and so getting all of the bumps and all of the basically corrosion that happens over time, they smooth it out, they put it back into you, so it's not a full hip replacement. Instead of getting a full hip replacement, especially at the young age I wasn't actually able, and I didn't meet the qualifications for a full hip replacement, which again is something I think about as a what if. Like, what if I did get one? What if I did qualify? But instead we went with the PAO, and they put my hip back in. They nailed 5 screws in to my hip, and so now it's the same, as far as I know, now it kind of has the same motion in it, so it kind of looks more like a regular hip. Basically, there is a period where you're not supposed to be doing anything, which is usually like up to 3 months, and then the 3 months is when you start doing like physiotherapy, rehab, still not really doing anything, especially not sports. And then after probably like 6 months, I think it is, like that's when you start doing, like, slowly start doing physical activity. Like, you're not even really supposed to still be doing stuff, but you're just slowly dipping your toes back in. But this is where I screwed up, and I think it affects me to this day. When you go home, you're obviously in a wheelchair, and when I got there, I think probably honestly one of the first things I asked was, can I have my hockey stick? because I obviously knew that I couldn't get up, I couldn't walk around or do anything. I just got major hip surgery. And so I asked for a hockey stick, I asked for a ball, and I basically just stick handled. So I got into crutches probably a little earlier than I probably should have. Everything seemed to be going good. I was recovering really nicely. And then my mom says 3 months, but I feel like that's like a tad bit too early. So I would say between 3 and 4.5 months, I decided, okay, I'm walking, going back to school. I was very limited to what I could do, and I hated it. I hated it. Hated it. And so I was basically pushing myself too hard to get back because I missed doing everything that I could. And I jumped back onto the ice, and my hockey coaches were like so stern with me. And my mom, she did not want me to go back on the ice, but naturally I did. But during the off season, I got invited to a camp, which I'll get into, and it was in Montreal. So it was basically across Canada. It was the coolest experience of my life. But again, I probably screwed myself up doing that because, that's, if it was in June or July, that's 6 to 7 months pre-op or post-op, right? Like, that timeline is way, 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 way too small for me to be doing strenuous activities the way I was doing. Way, way too small. And so I was back on the ice doing drills. I really screwed my hip up. And then I kind of just pushed through it. Again, I wasn't taking physio seriously. I think after like probably a month, if that, I was like, screw this, I'm done. I got water therapy. That was really fun, actually. I wish I could do that more. But basically, you get into a pool, and they turn the water on, and it's almost simulating like you in a river, like you in a moving lake or something, and then you like swim. And I really built my legs up like that. It was really cool. Like I said, I wish I could do that. But then we stopped doing that, and we did regular physio, where it's like, the basic exercises, and I was like, screw this, I hate this. But it wasn't until that I started doing strength training in high school that I realized, okay, like, this is actually like hurting me a lot. And so much stuff happened in high school that my hips were never my main point. They were always just the thing that was hurting the most, but I tried to push it aside because I had so many other things I was worried about. And ultimately that screwed me up even more than getting on the ice early, not doing physio properly, all of that stuff. And basically, like, my hips now, like, after I was finished high school in 2019, I kind of haven't really been doing too much with my hip, and it's costed me big time. Most recently, now, I've been on and off the gym for about, I wouldn't really count Banff as working out because I never actually took it seriously. So I would say like 2019, 2020 was when I really started going to the gym seriously. And I would go for like a month to 2 months. And I wouldn't really train my legs because, one, I didn't know what to do with my hips and my hip dysplasia. And two, it hurt. Honestly, it hurt. And I avoided it because it hurt and because it was uncomfortable, which, again, red flag. So yeah, that kind of wraps up age 0 to about 18, 19. Okay, that was my history on hip dysplasia. Hopefully it made a little bit of sense and you got a little bit of knowledge, the brief knowledge that I know and understand. I hope that you have a fantastic day. I hope that things go your way, and just know that you are doing the best you can, and that's all you can do. And I'm very proud of you. All right. I'll see you in the next one, which should be a part 2 to this video, the scientific version of what is hip dysplasia.